Alright, sort of a response video to Loreleila, but we'll get to that in a moment. I just wanted to post a link to a morbid atheist video. You know, he does a really good job, satire-y kind of thing on, yeah, babies are stupid. You know, it wasn't bad. I really should become one of his minions. I mean, you know, he sort of got it together. I mean, he's like living in hell's bathroom. You know, he did the law school thing. He's working. I mean, you know, yeah, I'll be his minion. Anyway, all right, on to the crap here. So anyway, I'll just play this part.
Well, what if every millisecond insects are feeling 1,000,000 billion times more suffering than that one baby, because there's so many of them? So in every millisecond of that baby's cry, there's 1 billion insects crying, suffering, feeling exactly the same uncomfortable unpleasantness. Would that be enough for you to say life is a silly game? It's preposterously too expensive? And so how do we just...
Yeah, and the premise of this is, you know, like, yeah, we can look at human tragedy and say, oh, screw, this is really bad. Holocaust, World Wars, Nagasaki. I mean, you can just go down the friggin' list of human horror. Cholera, AIDS, all kinds of human suffering endured. Like, even just the basic stuff, cancer, Alzheimer's. I mean, oh man, who wants to do any of this shit? It looks like all bad news. You know, and we can see our glories are so friggin' trivial. People wait all year with their beer in their hand and their stupid hat on their head and their little wavy flag for their big championship match between the buttholes and the shitheads. I mean, it's just, you know, and that's the game here. We got a bunch of people with their little beanies, spinny little copter hats on, you know, living in this is a cesspool. And that's just calculating the human tragedy. Then you go into the mammal tragedy. Then you reduce it to, you know, birds. And then you start looking at all these other fish. And then you go to insects. If these organisms are sentient in some substantial way, like the suffering, the unpleasant ache, pain sensations are being traveling through their neural pathway, their neural organs, then this is a holocaust of just, you know, face palm to life on Earth. Preposterously stupid. And so I've put the question, how bad does it have to get? And no one will answer the question, usually. Well, some guy did. I mean, he said, yeah, okay, you have to have 3 nuclear wars or something before he says it's fail. And what, we're just not going to admit that this is just a game of momentum? That you fuckers are just addicts? And you're sitting there just justifying the heroin? You just you'll care, you know, how many people you run over. You don't care how many people you step on and how much suffering you cause. It just doesn't matter. I could line it all up on the table. I could line it all up. All the incidental suffering that's a consequence of your existence. Let's, you know, and that's not even bringing up history. We'll just forget about the 2-3 billion years of evolution it took to get you here and all that suffering. We'll just talk about the stuff that happened in your lifetime that predicates, that is the foundation of your existence. You know, the whole biological world out there that feeds you. All right, and the horror that goes on in it. And if I line up all the little corpses, you know, just miles and miles of corpses, you know, life adventures in horror. How the fuck do you defend yourselves? Come on. So anyway, this is her defense.
How do you put that in some place in your brain and say, oh yeah, it's all worth doing. Let's have some more humans. Let's keep playing the game. So if there's no initial purpose and there's no end accomplishment, how do you justify the price being paid to maintain this nonsense?
That was still me, actually. Yeah.
Okay, I think one of the things that I've noticed in a lot of what you say is that you perceive suffering, but you don't seem, at least, to perceive pleasure, joy.
Well, I mention it all the time, but what the hell are we talking about? I know what my orgasms are made out of. I mean, it's made out of fucking petty lust. I mean, that's what it's made out of. All right. I mean, you want to believe it's something. Blah, 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 all this crap. I even know what love is. I even know all that. I know all that stuff. I'm just saying, if you pile that up against all those corpses, I mean, come on. This is a trivial hunger, okay? A hunger imposed by a DNA molecule, a brainless fucking molecule. Oh.
And you know that end of the spectrum. And
well, I know, but see, there's also an argument in there that there's a spectrum, exactly, but the spectrum is all negative, and I've made the point that it is because we are born in a state of negative. We are born in a state of need and want. We don't even know what it's like to be without it. So it's not like we're making forward progress. It's just relative. It looks forward because we're so friggin' deep in the hole. But we're not going to climb out of the hole. It's a zero-sum game. You're never going to get to the promised land.
Without, you know, if life were pure suffering, I would agree with you. But it.
Well, it's, you know, pure is what's the point? It's deprivation and suffering. I mean, okay, so yeah, some of the suffering isn't really hard suffering. It's only like deprivation suffering. You know, but again, put all the glorious moments in a pile, and what do you have? I mean, you have a pile of retarded balloon admiration.
There is suffering, and then there are other things, and there is just sort of maintenance. There's just ticking over. There's going through life.
Yeah, mediocrity. Yeah, big piles, big giant turdy, smelly piles of that, and that's not exactly fun. Mediocrity isn't exactly a neutral.
And the huge range of expression and experience that life can bring.
Yeah, I know. Again, but aren't we still? There's still scales, and there's still, you got to justify it somehow. So how bad do I have to make it? If we find out on the dark side of Mars or something, there's 10 billion Jews being, you know, burned in ovens or something, is it still okay then? Is the universe functioning as it should? Well, what if it's 17 planets or 496 million planets? Exactly how disgusting in terms of an inequity between the suffering and some sort of legitimate or substantial pleasure experienced. I mean, something a little better than, gee, I found 50 cents on the sidewalk.
I think there's quite a lot that we as humans can do to diminish suffering. Certainly to diminish enormously the suffering that we ourselves impose, because, you know, mankind causes more suffering on this planet than anything else.
Well, that's not even true by this new calculation. I mean, if insects are feeling suffering, mankind didn't have anything to do with that. I mean, I don't even think mankind has anything to do with the majority of suffering that takes place in the natural world among mammals. I mean, yes, we torture a significant number of mammals, but there's a significant number of them out in the real world, out there, you know, eking out a living, all right, in this horrific manner. I mean, theoretically, it could be argued that a newborn baby doesn't have any more sentience than one of those little chicks that's routinely kicked out of the nest every friggin' nesting season. There's only like, what, 1 trillion of those that get dumped on the ground every year. 1 trillion. 1 trillion. It's probably true. It's probably a fucking trillion little fucking bald little birdies, okay, that probably are, they theoretically could be more sentient than any newborn baby, and they're left to rot and die on the ground.
But in terms of a more universal sense of suffering, it is what it is.
Oh, see, I mean, that's just brilliant. But isn't that the whole point of this discussion? What is it? Is it a DNA molecule out of control? Is it just a Frankenstein experiment conducted by an ignorant and completely stupid universe? That's not how you're sounding. So again, it's another one of these atheists with this beauty in the universe mishmash you know, that's just going to glorify and whitewash the fucking disaster that is this consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, and addiction. Again, give me the fifth word that's really going to make a difference in that equation. No, it's all bad. It's made out of bad. It's not made out of good. It's made out of stupid and fucktarded. Yeah, I'm going to eat my relatives. Yeah, it's a brilliant idea.
You know, whether or not there is a point or a purpose or an outcome.
Well, aren't those like basic ways you measure the efficiency or functionality of something? I mean, if I make something that's not intended to serve any purpose, like, I don't know, a car that just bounces up and down, okay? Nobody wants one. It doesn't serve anybody's interest. It just is stupid, right? And then I make one, and then in the end, it just rots and rusts and falls to pieces, and it just wastes some gasoline in the intermediately. Then what the fuck? Can't we just call that stupid? I mean, can't we just say it? Well, that's fucking stupid.
We have it to negotiate. And so, you know, to me, saying life is just not worth it, you know, it's just, there's too much suffering to make it viable, is perhaps a personal choice, but certainly...
Yeah, right, perhaps a personal choice. No, we're not going to apply any kind of rationality. So if I decide to make some sadistic little maze game here and throw some rats in it, right, and it's just a sadistically sick game, okay? The rats chase a cheese, and every now and then, you know, some sort of horrible thing happens that pulls one of their legs off or does some other thing to beat the crap out of them, cause them significant torture and pain and suffering, and they still eke around the maze. They still chase their cheese with their 3 legs and then 2 legs, and then, you know, they just kind of inch around on their bellies to get the cheese. Now if I make that, right, what are you going to call it, an amusement park? You're going to call it a good idea, Gary? Yeah, it exists. You made it, so it's here. So, yeah, let's validate it. Let's put a little blue star on it. It says, yeah, this is good stuff. It's a seal of approval. The human race says, good idea. Do some more of that, please. Bullshit. You're going to say it's a dumb, fucking idiotic game. And none of you people are ever going to admit the goddamn truth. We're part of a dumb, fucking stupid game, okay, engineered by a stupid, ignorant, dumb, insensitive, incontinent, yeah, it's pissing all over us, shitting all over us, DNA molecule.
They're not a global choice. And to me, there is a lot in life to be gained, and even...
Yeah, well, I'll just, you know, yeah, we'll just do the beauty of the universe thing again. Look, the pretty colors. Little sparkly. Look, ooh, the liquid. Ooh, sparkly. There's a sparkle in the, ooh, I can see the red light through the, ooh, it's all glowy. I mean, come on. What? Again, put it on the scales. How do you justify one 6-year-old with cancer? Let me see what you put on the other side of the scales to make that make any fucking sense at all. No, it only makes sense because we are shit eaters. We're turd swimming ass wipes sitting in our cesspool, and because it's our cesspool, we're going to justify it and glorify it.
In suffering, I've gained a phenomenal amount through suffering, not chosen suffering.
Oh, whatever. Again, this learn from the pain. Yes, we all learn from the pain. Learn what? You know, what? Oh, I appreciate pain more. Is that it? Or I appreciate the good moments more now because I know how horrible the pain is, and now I'll appreciate when I'm not in pain. This is just psychobabble. This is psychology, okay? This is just being owned by your fucking circumstance and making the best of an idiotic and stupid circumstance. Well, why should you? I mean, it's not a matter of what you do to you know, personally make it possible for you to breathe another minute. The point is what's the truth of our circumstances? And again, if you're going to be philosophers, well then I guess you can't be caught up in psychology.
But the things that life throws at you, I've actually found an enormous amount of understanding in and from. And so I wouldn't dismiss that. I know whether.
Well, see, that'd be great. You know what I mean? In theory, like I said, in theory, if we could just put little Loreleilas on the friggin' roller coaster, okay? And that was the only kind of brain that was ever going to live on the roller coaster or be on the roller coaster. Something that really thought there was some kind of value in watching her friends fly out and smash into the cement wall and die. And, you know, the blood and the guts and the horror. So if it was only you people who, sorry for this term, but who can sadistically find some sort of purpose in all this blood and gut bullshit, you know, then fine, okay? Then you know you have to concede the point, okay? Let the crazy sadistic lunatics, you know, drink their blood, but that's not how life works. People like me who have a entirely different sensibilities get stuck here living in your fucking puke, and it's just you know, fuck you for doing anything to endorse the idea that anyone has a right to put me on this shitty coaster.
Other creatures experience that. I can't possibly say, but I just don't think it's out. You know, we have it to negotiate.
I mean, I think it can. See, you can possibly say. I mean, there's nothing rewarding. There's no Shakespearean moment of revelation or appreciation. Well, I shouldn't even bring up Shakespeare because he was always pretty goddamn depressed. But anyway, you know, a fish doing its thing. It's just doing its thing. It's being completely compelled and controlled by the DNA molecule. It doesn't have any of this justifying moment or anything. It's just crudely being propelled through the shit.
But writing it off because it doesn't happen to suit us doesn't seem to me a viable option.
Well, whatever. Viable, smiable. It's about what the truth is. And if you're going to, like, again, so you have something that wasn't invented by a genius. Einstein didn't make life. Okay? It was built by a complete retard, nature. You've seen what it does. You've seen the horror. You're acknowledging the existence of the horror, the inequity, the unfairness, the gross brutality, the almost inability to ever go back and fix it. I mean, you can't get back to the Garden of Eden. Lions are not going to lie down with lambs, okay? They can't, all right? They can't. They can't live on carrots. They can't do it. So there's no way to, how do you undo the cannibalism? You can't undo it. You can't undo the structure of what has taken place through our evolution. And it's It's just a failed fucking goddamn equation.
And I know this is, you know, a different take, but as I also, you know, also repeating really what I said earlier, that life has a multiplicity of different experiences. It's not just...
Yeah, well, different experiences, different mixed. I mean, it's just, again, it's just psychology. All right. I mean, yeah, you can give people delirious pleasure can be found in all kinds of different ways by, you know, how you orient the software within their stupid little brain. All right. But the bottom line is these few moments that people get where they do this deliriously happy thing is very, very slight compared to the buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets and buckets of hard suffering that's being endured as the price of this little joy ride. And that's all it is. This is a silly joy ride. There's no need in the universe, okay? You might find beauty in the universe, but there's no need out there saying, yes, we got to make this mess. No need at all.
The suffering, that baby crying, all those millions of insects, billions of insects crying out. Excuse me. Doesn't make it any less viable because...
Well, again, you're saying viable. Viable for what? There's no end game. Nothing will be built that'll last. So all there is the redundant experiential thing that's happening to the organisms. It can be argued that most of the organisms, through any one moment, any one slice of time, if we take a slice of time, this 1 second right now, okay, you could go out into the world and you could find whatever number, 10 million humans that are blissfully orgasmic. At the same exact moment, you'll find 100 million in mediocrity and 50 million in hard pain and maybe in the animal world just increase those numbers. So I mean, when you mix it all together, when you put the bad apples of hard suffering into this pie, it's gonna be shit. There's no way you can come up with a pretty color. It's gonna be an ugly color.
Oh goodness, they experience other things as well.
Well, again, that's just like saying, well, it all works out in the end just because I'm saying so. So, I mean, I went through that with Darwin's hamster. That's everybody just says, well, I think it all balances out. They don't give me any logic to explain how that balancing took place, how the universe figured out how to balance it all out. You know, you saying it's, oh, well, it's worth it. Because somehow that's what my brain farts as an answer. It's not a process of rational evaluation. No, it's just completely made up mush.
Whether it's only once or not, you know, when your lifespan is a matter of a few days, doing something once might be mind-blowingly.
Yeah, well, salmon don't live just a few days, okay? They live 4 or 5 years, and they just do it once and then rot and die. Slowly.
Ecstatic, you can say. I don't know if I've explained myself at all there, but I don't want to go on ending.
Yeah, well, it's just this whole idea that somehow life is engineered to all work out, that it's all happily ever after, that yes, it all makes sense somehow. This is just the God delusion all over again, okay? That somehow there's a payback. They invented the religion thing because they needed some kind of hope, some sort of reason to think it wasn't as shitty as it looked. And you're just sitting there doing the same thing now. So you replace God with the pretty phantasmo. Oh well, but you'll have an experience, and you'll look at a picture, and it'll make you say, "Ooh, my ass is twitchy." So what?
Honestly. And as regards to insults, yeah, I think, you know, yeah, I just have different words for insults, but than you do. So now maybe there's no difference. Maybe there is no difference.
Yeah, what doesn't really matter. Look, we've known each other a long time. I don't think we're really going to be offending each other anymore. I mean, I think we're past any of that kind of crap. Because we know each other's nature. So yeah, I'm not offended by it, but I'm just saying that this is sort of one of the things I've been arguing, is that this idea that there's the only difference is in some sort of cultural prejudice. In terms of the insults. It's not the insults don't exist. It's that there's a cultural prejudice towards certain insults.
But obviously some people perceive there to be a difference. I think, I mean, that wasn't aimed at you anyway, specifically. It wasn't aimed at anybody. I just find it flabbergasting that with the evidence that I see, anyone can imagine that babies don't feel pain. So it's an expression of that rather.
And yeah, well, I find it equally flabbergasting that people can think that a newborn human baby, which has been basically designed to be premature and non-functional, I mean, it's incredibly non-functional at birth compared to any other sentient life form's birth moment. It's completely unprepared to do any kind of living. And then, like I said, so we discount all the suffering that's happening out there in the real world. 9 out of 10 lion cubs don't reach their first birthday. So when a baby reaches its first birthday, even though it's a human baby, even though it's still an incredible fucktard, can't function at all. It's retarded, basically. In terms of being able to navigate its environment in any kind of survivable way. And here you have organisms that are much more survivable, much more functional, quicker. They live a shorter lifespan, so again, things are compressed, and they have to do it quicker. And there's nobody's crying Argentina there. Nobody's weeping no friggin' tears. Nobody's, oh, how awful. Nothing. Not a, what glimmer, what little amount, how many watts of emotional trauma is being experienced over that catastrophe? None. Gary mentioned it. Maybe 3 or 4 other people on planet Earth, maybe in the last 24 hours, actually thought about it. And that's it. And so that's the perspective. That's the corruption of this whole conversation. No one's accounting for the real price of this nonsense, and they're just sitting there glorifying their silly little emotional babble. You know, their little love affairs with their little sparkly sparkles.
But yeah, there's not much difference really, is there? You have your terminology, I have mine, and I do think that's one of the huge difficulties here, though, that I really enjoy the fact that we can talk with people on the other side of the planet with very different life experience and different cultures and different terminologies.
Yeah, but I know what I found through all that crap, though, is that really it's the same argument in the end, okay? So, yeah, I mean, I've talked to people and all these, you know, when you get through all the bullshit, it's the same. Life is the same over there as it is over here. The same gravity functions, the same planet Earth exists. So, in the end, it's an interesting nuance to break through the language barriers a little bit. But beyond that, when you really get to the nitty-gritty of it, it's the same old, same old.
That sometimes it's a real stumbling block.
I mean, again, like Britain can be considered, oh, well, we're a very secular country. Well, so what if you've got your secular heads up a unicorn's ass? So what the fuck good does your secularness do if you've just redefined God in terms of he's not that nasty little bearded little judgmental fucktard. He's the little fluffy, bloaty, playful unicorn. You know, some improvement. Not. So anyway, you know, you got Darwin on your side, but I don't think you really appreciated. I mean, even Darwin wrote about, you know, life is a little creepy. I mean, he didn't want to come right out and say anything horrible, but you can read between the lines and you can see the part where he's like, holy shit, you should have saw the stuff I saw today. Man, I mean, it'll make your freaking willy curl up. You know, so, and it just, so what truth is being respected? What, there's no truth here in this conversation. It's, you know, it's one person arguing, you know, for the realistic perspective, and the rest of the world arguing for, no, I want to pretend I'm accomplishing something. Or something to that effect. So anyway, probably enough of a video. I believe it is. Yeah, Fred did another video. I'll have to do a response to that. It was on that blip thing, you know, the second half of his video. So that gives even more context to his negative impression of negative utilitarianism. So I have to argue that some more, apparently. Anyway, till next time, and such.